So we're gonna move on a little bit to the system itself. So this Essence 20 system, this will be really cool because Alternative Archives is about people discovering new systems outside of the big three. So your perspective is definitely welcome. So you talked about kind of the difficulty of building a character because you weren't really sure how to do it.
Hmm.
But was there something in the system that made it easier to build the character or easier in the first couple of episodes um, to make you feel like you understood Essence 20?
This is an interesting question. Um, I, I mean, it just seemed pretty simple. You know what I mean? There wasn't anything that was like, it was just like these are, you have these amount of points to put into certain things, and those certain things have, you know what I mean, their own sort of stats and stuff. And it was yeah, it seems pretty simple to me, and it seems pretty inviting for a new player, especially because yeah, like I've never played a game like this before, and so nothing um about the system is like overwhelming to me. I guess nothing about it makes me like look at it and just feel like I don't know what this is, and I don't know what to do about it. You know what I mean? It's just kind of like, oh, you tell me what to do, and I'll do it.
Is there anything about Brick that you didn't like intend, but in the course of doing these episodes you uncovered about his personality?
You know, interesting. Again, I think this just might be the fact that I'm not like I I haven't played enough games, I guess, to where I like kind of lose myself in the character. But this might be the incorrect answer to this question, but like the correct answer overall. I wanted him to be dumber. I wanted him to be more of like a sort of like a himbo type character. But then that I don't know if it was just like myself coming forward as Brick, but I was just like um I ended up not making those decisions just based on like how sometimes the certain episodes would be going. I feel like somebody had to make certain decisions or say something at a certain time, and I was like, well, if nobody else is going to, maybe I should be the person to do that. So
This is John McDonald, aka Panabon, aka Zordon, and I'm with John Blair, aka Brick Kerrigan, the fabulous Pink Ranger baseball star of Angel Grove. Um, yes, this is going to be a home run of an interview as I continue as I continue talking with the cast of Becoming Mighty and Morphin, the podcast that's going to be appearing in the Alternate Archives in the new year of 5 new teens with attitude. So we're going to start off with a simple question: what brings you to the Power Rangers tabletop game?
I've never played a tabletop RPG before. This is my first one ever. So when I found out about this one, I was interested because it's Power Rangers, which is something that is very near and dear to my heart. So I was like, if I'm going to start and do one of these, it might as well be one that I, at least have some knowledge about.
Yeah, because you've been to the Power Ranger fan convention, Power Morphicon, at least once.
I've been twice.
You've
Yes,
been
I've
twice,
I've
yes.
gone I've gone twice. If you could see this shelf that's above me right here, it's full of Ranger figures, and I have a lot of Power Rangers memorabilia, paraphernalia, depending on who you ask.
Yeah. So as your first, because we have people with varying levels of tabletop role playing game experience here. As your first TTRPG, as the kids say, how has it been for you thus far?
It's definitely been a learning curve for sure. It's been really fun though. I've definitely been having a really fun time kind of like figuring out the mechanics of the game and just kind of learning to like have fun and think about things not as myself but as my character, which has been probably like one of the um, more challenging aspects, I suppose.
Yeah. So the system we're using is called the Essence 20 system. Did you feel kind of overwhelmed when you started out building Brick, knowing you had this big thing of numbers in front of you?
I guess I don't know if I felt overwhelmed. I wasn't really sure what to do with my character for a long time. Even though I'd had a long time to like prepare it. I've never made a character before. This is the first time I've ever like made a character for a role playing game. So I didn't really know what to where to put all of those things or what they all really meant in the long run. But they've I think I think they've I think I did pretty good for my first
Yeah,
time at least. I
I
don't know.
did too. If you could go back to when you were building Brick, with what you know now, is there anything that you would tell your former self in building the character?
Maybe think about his background more because that's kind of something that I've sort of been I didn't really have going in. I didn't really have a clear backstory as far as what I wanted because it was he was kind of very much created and then thrown at the game very quickly. So I think I would just have spent a little more time sort of coming up with more of like the background information for him.
I like the athlete with the heart of gold. I like that it's unexpected because usually in a game like this that mirrors something from TV, athletes were more villainous, really. They were, more of that kind of the upper scale end of high school. So they had all the power and they used it badly. And I like the kind of that subversion of that trope. One thing I said in the interview with Quentin is that you were all really nice. And so it's actually interesting trying to bring conflict and bring teenagedom into a game where all of the
Yeah,
Rangers were so
are
nice.
nice. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I didn't want to be a mean jock. I didn't want to be like that kind of person and I didn't think that kind of person would be chosen to be a ranger, I guess. There aren't in the history of the franchise, there's not many rangers who you could point at and say that they're kind of rude or mean, but
Yeah.
we've had maybe one or two.
There are some in Sentai, and usually those are reflected in Six Rangers when they become Power Rangers. So, like if you think about Heckle from Dino Charge, I would argue Allison from Wild Forest, but I would also say Allison from Wild Forest should have been the leader in that group, and they like stuffed Cole in as the Red Ranger, and that's one of the problems I have with
Yeah,
Wild Forest. But that is a personal thing because I am
that's
very
true. That's true.
much
I mean, she is
alone on
very
the
much the
island.
leader before he
Yeah,
joins, you know what I mean? And then
and
she kind of gets demoted in a way.
that's one of my favorite things about Wild Force is the episodes where she's at the military base where she just disappeared from. Like no one's going to notice this random
Where
blonde-haired
did
woman.
right? Where did our
Yeah.
key fighter
Oh,
pilot go? Where'd she go?
it's so good. Okay, so next question is what if you could describe Brick in 3 sentences or less, how would you describe Brick?
um, if I could describe him in 3 sentences, I would say he's a jokester. He loves to uh, try and make people laugh. He doesn't take things too seriously, but when he does takes things seriously, he is very focused on those things, and I think he cares a lot for the people he cares about, and will do anything to protect them and make sure that they're able to move on. You know?
So we do live in a fictional version of Angel Grove. This is a fictional version where the five original Power Rangers that you know of don't exist. And we've gotten to explore a little bit of Angel Grove, but is there anywhere Brick has always kind of wanted to explore, like a skate park or an outdoor mall or like the pretzel factory in Angel Grove or something like that? I don't know why I said
I think it would be really interesting if sort of up until like this whole time his two lives have sort of been very separate. There hasn't really been any intersections of his like baseball life and his ranger life. He's been able to keep those pretty separate. So I'd be interested to see what would happen if those worlds ended up colliding in a way that he wasn't expecting. I think as far as like a physical destination, I'm not sure. Um, I'm kind of jealous though that some people got to go to Stone Canyon. I didn't get to go there, but that
I
was
mean,
maybe fun.
that was like a summer recruitment program, so it's very possible in the future you'll get to go to Stone Canyon. I don't actually know what Stone Canyon looks like, so I was very much making that up.
I don't know if
Um,
they ever show it in the show. They might, but I don't.
they only showed the bus on the way to Angel Grove, so they don't actually ever show Stone Canyon. But so is that also somewhere you, as John, would like to go? Would you like to see Stone Canyon, or is there anywhere in the massive Angel Grove universe that you would like to see personally?
Um, well, I've been to California several times, and every time I go, I'm always sort of like enamored by the the weather. You know what I mean? It's just so crazy. I live in Chicago, where sometimes it is very cold and very gray and very mean, and it's really interesting having sort of like a different environment that just seems a little more bright. I suppose, you know what I mean.
I've gotten when I've asked this question, I've gotten the same answer from almost everyone, and I'm pretty sure your answer is going to be different. But do you have a favorite skill check? Like when I say you get to roll this, you're like, yay,
Oh, I mean, it's targeting.
because you're the Pink Ranger.
Because I don't know. I did a thing that I've heard isn't very smiled upon in terms of role playing games, and that is I've put a lot of my points into just one or two things, not like a full spread. So I have like a D10 in targeting. So I like so I've just
Yeah.
that's been a very helpful advantage to me. So I've liked rolling that for sure, because usually means I get to do something cool. When you ask me to roll like might or I think acrobatics is one that I tend to flop around a lot.
Yeah, that's
um
the balance, gymnastics, maneuverability. But that's not who you are as a Pink Ranger. Pink Rangers tend to, the book especially classifies them not as support characters necessarily, but as ranged characters.
yeah.
Essentially, wizards with spellcasting and other versions of TTRPGs. So, yeah. And also, when you don't know the rules, you can break them, and it's okay. If you wanted to put all your points into targeting, that's fine. I'm not gonna, except
It's
for,
worked
yeah,
out for me so far. So
yeah.
that's all I can say.
Except for when I give you points when you level up, where you have to put them in other things. Yeah, I'm not going to tell you how to build your character. That's I've got enough going on over here with the book and all the things.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
uh, so how did you feel? Because in the commercial we have coming out, that'll be coming out at the beginning of November, I do sound clip you asking Zordon if they're right about you being the Pink Ranger. Do you think ultimately Zordon was correct?
Yeah, I think he was in terms of the way like how Brick has sort of like developed as a character. I think for sure he's very much a Pink Ranger, definitely. It was just sort of I just was me as John was not expecting that at all. So I don't it was really interesting to have that happen. I wasn't it was definitely a surprise. So I think that moment was maybe it was definitely Brick, but it was also me being like, oh, okay, that's interesting. That'll be fun. I'd like to explore that.
What Ranger color were you thinking you would get?
Ooh, I knew that we were doing Mighty Morphin, so obviously like the color options were limited.
Yes.
I personally have always sort of seen myself as like a yellow ranger personally, or like a green, because those are the ones that tend to be a little bit off the norm from the normal sort of ranger tropes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, Usually, if there's like a yellow or a green ranger, they're usually a little bit quirkier than some of the other ones. So I think that was what I was kind of like thinking maybe would happen, but No, I was pleasantly surprised by the pink, and I think it fits Brick
Yeah.
very well.
So were you originally envisioning Brick as sort of like this like Trip Time Force Ranger analog where there's a lot of heart, but there's also a lot of silliness there?
Ye
Unless you haven't watched Time Force and then you have
I
no idea
have
what
no,
I'm
I've
talking
seen
about.
Time Force. I think I was originally envisioning Brick kind of more of a maybe a bridge type, I think, SPD
Okay.
perhaps. I think that I was feeling that a little bit. Yeah, I don't know. Again, Brick came about very quickly, so I had just kind of I was thinking of Ranger colors and attitudes as more of like uh coming from more of like my own sort of thoughts and feelings about them versus his. So that's kind of where that was coming from originally.
Uh, Besides learning that you are a pink falcon, the winged lord of the skies, as you like to exclaim, do you have a favorite memory or challenge from over the um, past season? It's almost the end of the season now, so from the
It
past season,
is. Honestly, like the stuff that we're doing right now is has been really cool and really fun to explore. But one of my favorite moments I think for Brick was when he first got his power weapon. I think that was a really fun time for him, and I really enjoyed um just I liked being able to like come up with the way I envisioned the weapon as in the way that like I'm glad it wasn't a bow, I guess is what I'm saying. I'm glad like I was able
yes,
to kind of like
it wasn't
come up
going to
with
ever be a bow. That
right.
wasn't.
I was really happy that I kind of was able to kind of come up with it in my own way and kind of like sort of think about actually all of the ranger weapons I thought were really unique because most of them are not, for the exception of Eddie's axe, I think they're all different than their MMPR counterparts, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, I definitely made some liberal choices based on what the book allowed me to do. Fun fact, you almost died that episode. I have to let you know. I had to storytell and roll you to keep you from being absolutely murdered by the spider baboon character in the Shadow Zone. You definitely almost died in that
Wow,
episode. I just
that would
have
have
to
been
let you know.
crazy, and that was so
I
early
was
on.
panicked. I was a little panicked for you, but it worked out. It was really important, and I actually like this because this ties into the current arc Rick has. Is that little bit of knowledge for people? You're the first person to get a power weapon. You're also the first character to redacted sacrifice redacted. My favorite memory of you is in session 0 character creation where you're behind a tree at the park and beaning you're beaning putties with
With the
rocks like
rocks.
baseballs, and I'm like using a ranged weapon, okay, talking to the teammates and keeping their spirits up, okay. Yeah, so I really like, that's my favorite memory, is like, yeah, definitely it was the right choice to make you the Pink Ranger for me. And I just enjoyed that you went naturally into the baseball headspace when dealing with putties.
Yeah, 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 for sure. I was super nervous about that, especially like the beginning episodes because I've never been a jock personally. So having to kind of like put my head into that was sort of different for me for sure. Because I've never really had to, I've never thought about what it would be like to be a baseball player or in anything like that. But um, I do remember asking you when we were like right before the like maybe the day before we did that first session. I was like, "Is there anything you feel like you need as far as like a hole filled?" And you suggested the jock character, and I was just like, I'll try it out. I'll see how that goes. And it's been a very fruitful decision for sure.
I think for me, the thing about a jock character is that their life is very regimented. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and everyone else really has more of a free spirit life where they can go and do. I wanted to have a ranger character that expressly had responsibilities that they could not avoid and also was slightly more high profile. You see this more in Boom Comics, especially in their current run, where there are rangers that either reveal themselves or they have those highly regimented jobs. And I thought it was really interesting that I needed at least one character that was very much mired in high school, both in case I
Yeah.
needed it and because I kind of wanted that. There's juxtaposition as being a teenager with expected responsibilities and family and duties, and then having to go off and save the world and have like this high profile secret. And I needed a character that felt the pressure of that a little bit. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I will say I just thought of another moment that I really liked with Brick, and it was in that episode I think where we had to there were like different buildings that had the energy things on the roofs or whatever, and I went
yeah,
by
the
myself to Ernie's juice bar and I was already morphed and I walked into a crowd of people and tried to direct them out of the building
you
in
just
a very sort of like
yeah.
dry way.
You
It
all
was fun.
morphed. It was a very paranoia moment where I was like, "Does everyone are you going morphed or are you going unmorphed?" There's a version of that episode where everybody had options for their unmorphed self using performance and persuasion. And so it kind of tickled me pink that you all decided you were going to go morphed into a world that really had no idea what the Power Rangers were. So like they had to respond to this person in an outfit just showing up.
Yeah.
So good. Is there anything about Brick that you figured out since you started this game that you haven't gotten a chance to reveal to the audience?
Hmm. I think there might be some things that have recently started brewing inside of Brick that maybe he doesn't really fully know himself, but perhaps um, those things will be more clear to him as time goes on. This is very vague and cryptic, but I think the last couple episodes have definitely sort of laid um, sewn a thread, I suppose that might lead to a reveal in the future.
Well, that's good. You're gonna have time for that. Because the last few episodes, I especially had planned in the same way that MMPR has the rhythm of Monster of the Week, and then the final episodes have that overarching decision making thing. This is very much that. This is very much my MMPR knowledge nostalgia married together. So I'm excited to see what those are, and I'm gonna do my best in the time constraints we have to give you that space to explore and talk about that and let others react.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
yeah, sure. And I don't know, maybe if everyone is all on board for season 2, maybe those things will continue into that as well. So I don't know. We'll see.
that is the hope. Because I've got some of those scripts written, but I've left a lot of room. I just know it's going to happen. Generally speaking, I'm very excited for it. So you have created Brick. Obviously, it's Brick is your character. Brick Kerrigan doesn't exist anywhere else. If you could have a 5-minute phone conversation or write a letter to Brick, is there anything you'd want to tell them as their creator?
Um hmm I you know I think what I would maybe tell him is I think he's been getting a little too serious, and I think he might need to remember. Um, I might need to remind him that that he needs to maybe like loosen up a little bit. He doesn't have to be so um, I don't know worried about everything all the time, he's definitely able to sort of loosen up, and I think he needs to be reminded of that a little bit. Loosen up and goof around a little more, maybe.
You need a bounce house for his birthday. Is that
I
what you're
think that's
saying?
a maybe a bounce house is that might be a good thing for him. I don't know.
Just a bounce house weekend. Like not even for his birthday, just like a weekend where he picks for bounce house.
Yeah.
Um, all right. So when we opened session 0, the icebreaker I chose was to have everyone talk about their favorite dessert or their character's favorite dessert. And so now let's say Brick for some reason is throwing like a dinner party. Um, and they had to pick an appetizer. We're gonna go the other direction. What appetizer would Brick have?
Uh,
Lots of hot dogs, lots of international sausages. Is that what it is?
he was really into the sausages that day. I just think because he loves food. He's a foodie. One thing I do know about jocks and sports people is they get to eat as much as they want without it negatively affecting them. So, which is something that I've always envied. But I it's funny because the minute you said that, I knew the answer immediately, which is I think Brick's appetizer would be like pigs in a blanket, like the rolled sausages and the croissant or biscuit dough or whatever. Because he can eat like handfuls of them and he loves them. So I think that's what he would he would pick as his appetizer. And now that you said that, I don't even remember what I said for my dessert.
I don't remember either. The so I that explains how Quentin and you are such good friends. You both have similar eating patterns. Because that's Quentin's favorite thing.
Oh, was it really? Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, the hot dog is a rolling theme with Quentin actually. The other question is breakfast, which is now a staple tradition in our universe. What
Breakfast.
is Brick's favorite part of breakfast? Because there's a lot going on at breakfast, but there must be something that Brick secretly loves more than any other part of breakfast.
I think Brick's favorite part of breakfast is when are we talking about like the actual food of the breakfast or more of like the idea of breakfast? If it's the food, his favorite thing about it is when the pancake syrup goes into the sausages and makes them kind of sweet but still savory. Those are probably his favorite thing about breakfast because he loves pancakes and he likes sausage. So he loves when those two worlds collide in the best way possible.
Nice.
Um, as far as just breakfast as a concept, um, breakfast food is just arguably the best. So I can't even blame him for naming his favorite meal after himself.
No, I like that actually. Another part of the kind of jock way of life is the idea of ritual is very important, even if they don't name it. Like a movie like Major League makes fun of it and makes fun of the idea of ritual, but ritual and superstition are as big for jocks as they are for theater kids, in a different sort of way, but in a very similar way. So I like that you created this breakfast ritual that we all kind of talk about now, and it makes me very happy.
Uh, on the note of breakfast, I think that Brick would probably wish for some sort of like unlimited pancake and like sausage situation. Perhaps like those ones that are kind of like corn dogs, but are instead breakfast food. Um, something something along those lines. I think that's one wish that he would have. A second one that I can think of is to have more pink uh, sports clothes available to him in sizes that are not traditionally female sizes. So I think he would like more gender inclusivity as far as the pink clothing in sports stores is considered. And I think a third wish would be I think this is something that I kind of sowed like the seeds of when we all first kind of met Zordon and we had like some he seems to be very secretive, so I think Brick would just wish for Zordon to tell everyone the truth, whatever that means.
Whatever that means. Yes, Quentin feels the opposite way, where Quentin is very much about maybe Zordon is holding back, but we should still trust him. And I like that Brick is a character that's like, is Coach being honest with us? What
Yeah,
play is Coach
I
running
think
right
that is
now?
kind of maybe where he's at, because traditionally coaches are very direct. You know what I mean? Like they're usually not speaking in, metaphors and talking around things. They're very like, your swing sucks. You need to fix your swing. You know what I mean? So it's like, I think that's probably where Brick is coming from, where it's like, you want us to do these things, but you're not giving us like the proper, I guess, background. You know what I mean? So, or how to fix them. So
Okay. Yeah, that's a very fair answer. That's something that annoyed me about Zordon as well, but also as Zordon, because
you
I can
have to
only
be right.
offer
Like
you
you
so
can't.
much information
Exactly.
piecemeal.
Like you have to be that way. But I think the dynamic of like not fully trusting the person that is like that has granted you this power is like an interesting sort of angle to go at, and so
Yeah.
that's I wanted to explore that a little bit.
I think for me, something important about this game was that I didn't just focus on you as rangers and heroes of the universe, but it was important for me to also look into the banal aspects of teenagedom, like you have to go to school even though we're in summer vacation. You've been to school like three times, three
That is, yeah,
times
we
because of
have,
me.
yeah, we've
um
gone.
and part of the ranger thing is the idea of maturity, especially in MMPR. You see that is how they mature throughout their time as rangers and make choices, sometimes very melodramatically, but sometimes just because that's the only way to grow as a human. So I don't know if you feel that. Do you feel like you've had a chance to mature? Um, Brick has a chance to mature, I suppose.
I do. I definitely feel like Brick is definitely on a journey, especially in the episodes that we are currently recording.
Yeah,
I feel like he is definitely in a place where he is sort of really sort of having to be faced with his decisions and what he needs to sort of put at the forefront of his future. So I think that that'll be interesting to sort of explore, because I think, yeah, I do think he's maturing. I think for a long time he was kind of riding the waves and kind of doing what was expected of him, and now he has sort of actual decisions to make regarding you know his fellow rangers and the safety of the people of our fictional Angel Grove.
he was just riding the lawnmower of life, and then I had to come underneath the lawnmower like
And
a rock
just,
and stall it
yes,
out.
yeah,
That's something I actually love with Brick Expressly is you put Brick on this really express track of baseball sport athletics, which in high school in America especially is a track that you go on and there are so many expectations. And in
yeah,
the last
it's
few episodes, especially because of the choices that you made,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
really getting a chance to be like, is this what you want? Is this what you really want? Is this what you really want? And that was kind of my whole goal, for all the characters, is to have that moment of, is this what you really want? You are 18. I mean,
yeah. We can make our own decisions from here for sure, and I think that's something that is going to be fun to explore later on.